Hey, so just wanted to share a quick tip on how I used Enso Looper to create a skip back function inside AUM that you can use for Koala Sampler or anything else inside of AUM. So skip back is the name of a feature that the Roland SP-404 Mark II came out with when released a couple years ago. And that feature, the skip back feature, what it does is it's essentially recording everything you do in the background into a memory buffer for 25 seconds of audio. So you could be messing around, tapping out a beat on the pads, or playing with the effects, or just about anything you can do on the SP. And at any point, you might decide, oh, that was kind of cool. I had a happy little accident there that I'd like to capture, but I wasn't recording. What do? Well, you can jump over to the skip back memory and pull out the last 25 seconds of whatever you did and drop that into your project. So it's a pretty cool feature. It's not something that Koala Sampler has built into it. Now, of course, in Koala, we have resampling. So you can go ahead and just, instead of input, you can select resample, click on a pad, and then, experiment to your heart's content and capture that into that new pad. So that is the quickest and most obvious workaround to do something similar. But it does require some intention of recording into that pad when you're ready to experiment. So for most of my uses, that works great. What got me started thinking about how to have a true skip back functionality where it's constantly recording into like a 30-second buffer was I picked up this audio unit called Radio Unit AU. And what this is it's essentially a radio tuner and can find radio stations from literally all over the world and play audio directly into AUM for you to capture and use in your projects. So this is a pretty cool little audio unit. But what I quickly found was I'd be listening to something and just kind of doing something else, not really paying attention, just kind of listening in the background. And suddenly I'd hear something really cool. And it's like, oh, crap, I wasn't recording, So there was no way for me to go back and get that. It's the radio, so I can't rewind. And in a lot of cases, I'm playing stuff like this history radio or sci-fi old time radio, and they're playing old radio programs from the 50s and earlier that would be really hard to find anywhere except on these radio stations. So once you hear it and it's gone, it really is potentially just gone, and you're not going to hear it again. So again, would be nice to have some kind of skip back function built into AUM, wouldn't it? So there is a way to do that, and all you need is some sort of a looping tool. And in my case, the looping tool that I happen to own is called Enso Looper. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set that up in Enso Looper, but you could do this with Loopy Pro. I'm pretty sure they have this functionality. Basically, I would assume anything that's a looping tool made for capturing audio would have some kind of a buffer that it can just continuously overwrite itself. But I can't speak to any of those specifically. I just know how to do it in Enso Looper because that's the one that I own. So I'm going to show you how to do that with Enso. So let's go ahead and load into the effects slot, audio unit Enso. And by default, this is what you're going to see when you open Enso Looper. And now, if I was just to go ahead and feed some audio here. Okay, let's find something here.
Is quality. Fatima gives you extra mildness.
There we go.
Different, much better flavor
Okay,
aroma.
so if I just start hitting record here,
Has all the advantages of
nothing happens because Enso only operates when the transport mode is in play.
cigarette has.
So hit play,
Insist on the best.
and now you'll see the audio feeding through and recording.
Fatima.
What's going to happen here, though, is it's just going to keep recording continuously until I tell it to stop,
Wednesday, February 5th,
or until it hits the limit, which I think for Enso is maybe 5 minutes on the iOS.
Suspect Harry Dunbar to his home.
So that's not what I want. I don't want it to just record continuously until I tell it to stop. I want it to be recording into a buffer and re-recording that buffer every 30 seconds until I decide I want to capture that last 30 seconds. Because that's going to be more efficient than me recording for, I could use other recording tools and just record continuously in perpetuity, but then I'm going to have a huge audio file to deal with. So that's not really what I want either. I just want this nice little 30-second buffer. So Enso, the way it works is if once you have a length of audio, like right now that I have this audio, now I could hit record, and it's only going to record over the top of it until it hits the end of that loop. And now it is going to have the correct behavior, but the amount of time of this buffer is dependent on that very first recording that I made. So if you want to go ahead and just make a simple 30-second recording, you can do that. Just hit start and stop with your transport controls on AUM and, record a 30-second loop. And then from there, you're ready to go. But what I wanted to do is have something that I could just, every time I jump into AUM and I drop into Enso, I can just open up a preset and have it set up to record in a 30-second buffer. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to do that. I'm going to clear out this buffer, and I'm going to create a 30-second loop exactly by using a little bit of math here. So I know I've got 80 beats per minute, 4/4, so I've got 4 beats per measure. So I know if it's 80 beats per minute that I need 40 beats, so that's going to be 10 measures. So this is by default set up to quantize to measures. So I just need to give it 10 measures. And what I'm going to do differently now is instead of pressing record here, which just records continuously, this control here essentially ignores what I've set up here. But if I instead hit the trigger, it's going to honor what I've set up here for this quantized loop. So you can see that the trigger is ready to record because it has the record symbol. And we'll go ahead and back this up. I'll hit the trigger, and then when I hit play, it's going to start recording. Now right now it doesn't look like it's doing anything. The record button is red, but I don't see anything happening, and that's because I'm not feeding any audio into it. So if I do this, now you'll see the audio that it's feeding into it. But really what I wanted was a 30-second silent loop. So I'm going to scrap that. I'm going to clear it. And we're going to do it one more time. So I just did that for demonstration purposes. So I hit my trigger, hit play. And again, it doesn't look like anything happened. But if I just wait for that 30 seconds of time to pass, what's going to happen next is it's going to automatically start playing that buffer. And that's set up over here in this part, the post record. So the plus symbol means overdub and the play symbol means play. So right now you can see the highlighted one is play. So after it's done recording, it's going to start playing. So let's see. There we go. Hit 30 seconds and now you can see it's starting to play the buffer, which is silence because nothing is being fed into it. So that's exactly what I wanted. And now that that's done, I can go ahead and click to the beginning. And I'm going to save this preset. So when you save this preset, what you want to do is make sure you're saving the buffer. That's whatever audio has been recorded into the buffer is going to be saved with the preset. We'll just give this a name. Demo, save, and close. And now anytime I want to set up this 30-second buffer in AUM, all I have to do is load Enso and load that preset. And now I've already got my buffer in here. Even though it doesn't look like it, it's ready to go. So now I'm going to ignore the trigger and I'm going to use the record button. This is important to not use the overdub, because the overdub is going to have a different functionality than record. Overdub is going to combine the previous loop with the new audio, and that's not what I want. I want it to be constantly writing over and not keeping the previous audio. So I'm going to hit the record button. And again, won't do anything unless I have play happening in the transport control. And now it's just recording. Nothing currently, but I'm going to go ahead and feed that audio back into it.
He estimated that over a period of some 4.5 weeks, he'd stolen approximately $50 in merchandise.
So now what you'll see is as it gets back to the beginning of the loop, it's going to write over this silent area with the audio.
Reason for doing all this, Harry? Why don't you tell us? We're going to find out sooner or later.
Sorry, officer. Next turn to your left.
You see, it just keeps recording over and over and over again continuously. And at any point in time, I want to grab
This time,
what recently happened
Lynn, I didn't think
and just come over here to settings
couldn't help it.
That doesn't...
and save buffer.
What do you mean you couldn't help it?
And from the moment I clicked save buffer is when it
Well, what was it?
stops that buffer and starts a new one. So I save there. So that's how you set up a skip back function in AUM using Enso Looper. Hope that is useful to somebody and something you can use in your projects. All right, have fun.